We're going to learn about our brain again today. And since a lot of us have been speaking about depression, mental health, we thought we preponed our session this week. So thank you, Sid, for making time for us. We thought we should come and have this session now, since we all are talking about it and so many of you are curious. Today, at the beginning of the session, Sid, we already have twice the number of people who have tuned in.
Wow.
Clearly, a lot of you are interested in this. So let's just begin. Everybody who's sending super chats, we will address these questions at towards the end of the session. If that's okay with you guys, we just want to be completely zoned in. Let's begin. Sid, all yours.
All right. Thanks, Tanmay. Right at the onset, I wanted to tell you that this is going to be a different discussion from last time. We discussed humor, and depression inherently is a more difficult topic to talk about. It's got a lot of connotations. When we hear the word depression, we think of a lot of things. A lot of us have gone through depression, or somebody in our family has gone through it. We've all been affected by it in some way. So I thought that I'll just state that out at the start, that everybody's experience is different, and what we will try and do is to just focus on the neuroscience of it, like the reasons why some things happen, what we know so far, and try to make sense of that.
Got it.
Right? Because there is a lot of things we still don't know and we're still learning. So I just wanted to clarify that. A good starting point for this discussion is talking about what is depression. Because we can say the word that, oh, we are depressed, but depression by itself is a medical problem. And
clinical depression.
And that has a certain like a diagnosis, right? So there is something called as a criteria for diagnosing depression. So that is something I wanted to start off with, because that is how we know whether somebody is depressed or not. And it helps us identify these people, it helps us treat these people. So there is a global consensus as to what is clinical depression. So there are 9 things to look for. And clinical depression is diagnosed when you have at least 5 of these for more than 2 weeks. Okay. And those 9 things are things that we are familiar with. We may have seen it in some people, but this is how you diagnose depression. So the 9 things are: the first is a depressed feeling. So you say that you feel sad, you feel empty, you feel helpless. So that is called as a depressed mood. So that is the first thing. Second thing is inability to feel pleasure or inability to feel excitement. So things that previously gave you pleasure now don't. So that is a sign of depression. If you are losing weight, or if you're gaining weight without trying to, so you're not dieting, you're not eating more, but you're gaining weight or losing weight, that could be a sign of depression. If your sleep is altered, so you're sleeping excessively, you're not able to wake up, or you have no sleep, that is a sign of depression. If there is slowing down, so you don't feel like you could walk fast, you don't feel like you could run, you don't feel that same level of speed in which you used to do things, that is a sign of depression. There is fatigue, so loss of energy. So you're no longer active. All these things put together can give you a sense of guilt. Now, here it gets even more complicated to understand, but there is a sense of worthlessness that comes in depression, because these people have insight. They know that I'm supposed to do things. They know that I can do so much more.
Correct.
But I can't.
Correct.
I don't know why I can't, but I can't. And that sort of takes you down a really bad spiral. And you start feeling like maybe I'm not worth all this. I'm not living up to what I can do, and that sort of puts them down. Because of that, they're unable to concentrate. So now they can't focus. They can't focus on anything. Their attention just skips from one thing to another. And earlier they used to. They would identify themselves as somebody who was good at focusing, but suddenly it's all gone. It's like their brain wiring is something is wrong and they can't explain it.
Yeah. I have a smile on my face because this is relatable content with me. Like I went through a phase which was like this for 6-8 months, and it's a weird loop, right? Sid, when you said there's a sense of worthlessness, because I would cry because just feeling some shit. Then I would cry because I couldn't do the shit that I was supposed to do because I spent that time crying. So now you would feel terrible about not doing that thing. And the lack of focus is a very that's actually very true. Go on, sorry.
Yeah. No, I'm so sorry you went through that. But yeah, this is...
I'm feeling great now. Cheers.
Cheers, man. And the last one, the 9th one, is the most unfortunate part of depression, in that they have suicidal thoughts and suicidal ideation, and they may even attempt it.
Suicide fantasy.
Yeah.
I was reading about this, like some thoughts about like if there's a defined cause for your depression, you want to kill yourself to punish the world. Like those thoughts exist, but not everybody acts on it.
Yeah,
those thoughts
true.
exist.
True.
All right.
It's like a dark spiral, and there are a lot of symptoms that I just mentioned, and there is nothing like a hierarchy. It's not like you have to start from the first one and go till the ninth. You can start off from anywhere, and each one will progressively lead to another one. So lack of energy will lead to lack of focus, lack of concentration. That will make you feeling worthless. So it's like a spiral, and you can enter into that spiral at any point. It's difficult to come out of it once you are deep without help. And this is something that I think we need to know, we need to understand, because only the people who have gone through it know it, but they are unable to talk about it. So it's literally like nobody really understands, you know. There are a couple of other things I wanted to mention is that in mental health disorder spectrum, depression is one, but you can also have things like anxiety and panic. Now, these are different disorders. These are different problems, but they can often overlap.
Yes.
So you can have depression with anxiety, depression with panic.
Yeah. I was showing symptoms of panic disorder.
Yeah.
It was 6 hours of increased heart rate, where there's always some or the other trigger. Like I always saw anxiety as like very momentary. Anxiety phases were still like a few minutes or so, but panic disorder was just continuous for hours and hours. The panic disorder was the one that made my therapist be like, maybe you should go to a psych to see if you have clinical depression. Because I would describe to her saying, for 6 hours I felt intensely panicky, and she was like, it seems like a long time. This is no longer just you were feeling anxious. This is a symptom of something more, so you should go. That's why I went to a psychiatrist, and the psychiatrist was like, yeah, there's a lot more here. Go on.
Good. It is, because it's important to understand and work through this with professional help, because these are not thoughts that we are used to. And when you find yourself in that whole loop, it's extremely difficult to make sense of it. So it will be close to impossible to figure all of this out on your own. Maybe you could have done it if you were feeling normal, but because you are inherently, your thoughts are slow, you are not able to focus. So the whole thing leads down a very dark spiral. So it's important that you do take help. And that brings me to the next part, that why are we talking about this? Why is it important that we talk about this? For one, it's common. So depression is almost 1 in 10 people will have it in their lifetime. And that is a scary thought. And it's also an important thought for people to realize that it is not something that happens to somebody else in the movies. It's not something that, you just read about. It happens in our families. It happens in our households. So that is something we should know. There are things that can increase your risk of depression. So say genetics, for example. We are still discovering a lot of certain genes leading to depression. We still don't know exactly, but we know that there is a strong family history. So if there are people in your family with depression, that will increase your chance of depression. And it's not your fault, or it's not like you are not trying. It's there are things that you can control and there are things that you can't. And it's sort of important to know that. Just knowing that you can't control this itself is half the problem solved.
Yeah.
And finally, Tanmay, I saw this video that you had put up yesterday about what if people had treated depression like other diseases, and that is so true, because I was thinking about heart attacks. And so like in a heart attack, a patient comes with chest pain, and we believe the patient when he says, I have chest pain, right? We never say, no, you probably don't. Are you sure?
Go for a jog, buddy.
Why don't you go for a jog? Why don't you take a rest? Why don't you just relax, distract yourself, see a movie? It's not like that. And we also know that there are triggers. So we know that a high blood pressure or high sugar level can lead to a heart attack.
Right.
And we know that we can do an ECG, and we know we can do some blood tests to prove that there is a heart attack. Now, this is where the problem comes in depression, because there are symptoms, just like chest pain, there are symptoms in depression. There are triggers, just like blood pressure and diabetes, there are triggers here. So childhood history of trauma, if there is excess stress in your family, work, finance, there are triggers. But there is no test.
Sorry,
what?
There's also measurable trigger.
Exactly.
Like
exactly.
Or you can like measure
Hormones.
that.
Yes, absolutely. So hormonal imbalances can be a trigger, but there is no test. So there is no test like ECG or, like an enzyme. And that has been the problem with all mental health disorders, because till now it's like, show me the proof, which is sort of, it's an unfortunate way of looking at it, because now we know a lot more. We don't know everything, but we know a lot more about depression. So we know that there are problems in the neural networks. So it's unfortunate, but from here on out, we should try to think of depression and mental health disorders like we would think of heart attack, because there is actually very little difference, and both of them can kill you. That's the saddest part. So it's important that we sort of hold that parallel in our heads, right?